AI Nation, Sean Lordo here again with another installment, segment, episode. I'm not sure whichever one want to use of the Wise Out podcast. I am joined by my great friend Matthew Topper. Matt, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing awesome. Just got back from a run. It's a cold, snowy day here, so I'm doing well.
You lost me at run. Anyway, um, so as always, for those that have never seen this, which I'd be surprised if everybody hasn't watched this by now, what is this podcast about?
So IT Nation Wise Up is a way to just hear what's going on and get some exposure to some of the great ideas that are around the channel. And in particular, it's a way to get exposure to some of the ideas that you wouldn't hear if you're just going to conferences and sitting in sessions, and even talking to people, right? A lot of times these are people behind the scenes ideas that don't necessarily fit into a breakout session. Adam, you've probably seen before. Um, but they're a way to just get some exposure to things that you wouldn't see normally day to day on what some people call the conference circuit. And so we want to bring those ideas to you, right? Bring the hallway track out to the public.
You know, that is usually accurate, but I feel like for today's guest,
Who I just said the name of accidentally.
it's definitely different because there's a lot of activity, and this guy has become really well known. I don't know how. I guess this was nothing better to do, but in this case, let's just bring the guest up. We must not waste any time. I think most people in this circuit now know Adam Anderson from ThreatCaptain. If not, I'd be surprised because somehow I'm not even sure you really have a job, but we see you for doing lots of things. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks. This feels like a safe environment. This feels like I'm here for a good time, that this is going to be great. Let's can't wait.
Good time, yeah. Great to be
But
determined.
definitely not a long time, hopefully.
Yeah, no. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for letting me play with you and your friends.
Yeah, appreciate that. We really appreciate you playing with our friends. So, for those that don't know you, if you want to give a little bit of background, you are essentially a serial entrepreneur. I know that. And also you're phenomenal at doing live streams, interviews, and you're a really well-dressed man. So other than that, what else should they know about you?
I'm a Virgo. I used to like long walks on the beach. I'm getting fatter and older, so getting a little shorter. Those walks are more like stand and look into the middle of the distance while smoking a pipe. So yeah, but you're right. So serial entrepreneurship. I got started in cybersecurity back in the 1900s. Learned that I wasn't obsessed about cyber. I was obsessed about business, and I found love with launching businesses. So this is my fourth cybersecurity company, and chief of it, an investor or a founder in roughly 30 different startups over the last 25 years. And, I just think that it's in my blood. I think it's the number one way I can do good in the world is launch cybersecurity companies. I think a business is a delivery mechanism of a good idea to people who need it, and take a lot of pleasure in doing that.
So why do you I guess the question is, why do you keep doing them over and over again? I'm assuming that after 30, you probably could stop if you wanted to. What about it draws you to keep launching new companies?
So there's some, yeah, this is a yes and shot. So what usually gets me excited to start a company is I find a problem we're solving, right? And so the last company we did was Hook Security. And when I started that, co-founder, and I was really excited about, man, if I can stop people from clicking on things, I can make the world a better place. After I did that for a while, I discovered, gosh, people are really struggling understanding business value of cybersecurity. Man, what if I can fix that problem? And before I was like, the world needs rock and roll knives that might accidentally cut you. So I'm going to go hire the guy who designs the weapons for Lord of the Rings. So it's really whatever catches my fancy. And so I tell people I do startups. I don't do long terms. And so my modus operandi is start a thing, run it for 3 to 5 years, sell it and exit, or put it under professional management and go do the next thing. So I have a very high level of ideation. I love ideas, but what I really like to do is see those ideas come to fruition. And And that's been the hard part over the last years, is deciding what to do and spend time on, and then what to just be like, yeah, that was a cool idea over cigars. We don't have to follow that one.
Okay. One of the hardest challenges I've ever found with startups, being a founder or even coming in with founders as not one of the founders, but one of the executives or leaders, right? Is identifying where you fit in the organization, right? Because you hear it constantly. They're the visionary. I'm the visionary. They're the execution, whatever, right? Which I find to be bullshit. But anyway, how do you determine where you belong? Where do you find your fit, and where do you belong, and how did you find your fit?
Yeah. So that's the process. So when you first start, you fit everywhere, you do everything. You usually have a co-founder or two. That's, oh, I'm going to write the code and you go do the sales. That's not how this works. It's everybody all hands on deck working an awful lot of hours. Where the struggle comes in is when you begin to hire a lot of people, you begin to build systems and replace people with processes that could be measured, et cetera, et cetera. Now you're trying to put yourself into pillars where before it was all very fluid. And so the way I kind of audit myself to find out where I belong is what exhausts me in the process. The first thing I do is I hire a controller and a chief of staff to handle all parts that I don't want to do. I don't want to have an opinion about the charts of accounts. So I don't want to care about how we're do billing. I want to do product and go to market. So I think every entrepreneur needs to audit themselves. What do they love to do? And then based off of how that makes them feel. And I'll be clear about this. It's not how do you feel in the middle of it. I love all of them. I'm very excited. It's what exhausts me after I'm done and I need a nap. So does that kind of make sense?
Yes, in a Adam Anderson way. Yes.
Wing and a miss. That was almost a compliment, damn it.
Adam, you mentioned that you're eventually able to figure out the ideas that really have something to them versus the ones that just seem like a cool idea, like at the bar one night. By now, are you able to tell beforehand whether something's going to be a good idea, like when you come up with it, see if it's going to have legs, or do you have to execute and see where it goes first?
It depends. So if it's inside of my area of expertise, right? So if I was going to come up with a SaaS product for MSPs, I could pretty much tell you right out of the gate without having to do a lot of testing if this thing has legs. If it's something outside of my core concepts or my core competencies, I'm gonna probably need to do a little bit of testing and see what goes on. I always suggest that the first 3 months of any company is all about market research. And the way I conduct market research is you go try to sell a thing and someone will buy it. Even before you built it, if you can get pre-orders, if you can get someone say, I'll give you $1 for that, when you're beginning an idea that you're not a subject matter expert in already, you have to depend on listening to the customer and listening to the market. And unfortunately, what most people do is they just never leave that whiteboard. They spend a year and a half building a thing and they never talk to a customer or went to market to see where they were right or wrong. I mean, like for ThreatCaptain, I thought I was building a tabletop exercise company until they saw my software and they're like, you're adorable, Adam. Can you not show up anymore? Can we just have the SaaS product instead? So, I would say I'm about 60% good at it.
So, okay, to add to that then though, yeah, they go into the whiteboard, they start creating, they have a product. A lot of times you see owners they have a failure to launch. They're afraid. So what what do you expect? Like, how did you get there? How did you determine when's a good time to take your solution to market? Or
Well, you have to decide who you are to that market. So if I show up and I'm the subject matter expert and I'm going to tell you how to do what you're going to, if I'm Steve Jobs and I've created a beautiful device and I'll tell you what you want, man, I better be right. I better never have a problem with that product. Well, that's not how I build companies, since that's not how I suggest other people build companies. And let me be clear, this is for software companies. If you're doing medical device stuff, don't listen to me. Get that crap right. So, but if you're doing software, you have an opportunity to build in front of your clients. So when we are going to market now, I'm very clear with, hey, you're getting my minimum viable product and you're building this thing with me. Yes, I'm going to charge you, but you're going to help me with my roadmap. You're going to give me product feedback, stuff you like, I'm going to lean into, stuff you don't, I'm going to not. So you can go to market with a imperfect, ugly baby product if your stance is I'm building in collaboration with my customers. It's a lot better position because people are not going to work with you and your company because they think you're the best at what you do. They're going to work with you and your company because they think you're the best at hearing what they need to accomplish and making it happen.
So is that old dev paradigm, shipping beats perfection?
Yeah, I had to set my folks down the other day and say, like, you're literally killing me because you're making a good product. I didn't even say a great product. I was like, this world. I was like, this world is about shipping product and getting feedback. And so, we had to go back and we had to analyze our dev process because, what happens is you build a lot of technical debt when you release an imperfect process product. And eventually you have to pay that off. So we were in a season of paying off technical debt, and they got real comfortable in not shipping product. I was like, guys, nobody's gonna put on LinkedIn, oh my gosh, I was on ThreatCaptain and I clicked submit and there weren't any problems. No, that's not what they're gonna say. We need to keep shipping innovation. We got to keep listening and keep showing. So yeah, the idea of, for a SaaS company, shipping product quickly. Now, the way we got around this is we I was like, I can't just sit here and not have new product being shipped. So they're like, what do we give you? A dev space where you can make any kind of prototype you want. And then based off of people using it, we'll upvote or downvote it. And if it gets enough upvotes, we'll put it in the core product. I was like, oh, I love that because I have a stable product that does what it says it's going to do, but I still can make up cool stuff and bring it to market. So I don't know if that's the right answer for every SaaS company or every startup, but I feel like you should take the time to learn how to do both. Have that ugly baby fast, as well as being able to make sure people are giving you money, get the results that we told them they're going to get.
How do you get over that? Like, I'm thinking, I do this too. I write code, and all of a sudden, I haven't released it or done anything until I think it's 100% perfect, ready to go out the door, right? And we've all heard this before. How do you actually get yourself over it and say, I'm okay releasing bad stuff that's not ready yet?
Well, there's two emotional journeys I'm going to take you on. The first is after you've spent all that time in the cave becoming the wise guru who then shipped perfect code, and then nobody likes it and everyone gives you feedback and your feelings get hurt enough, you're going to stop doing that. Actually, you're going to do one or two things. You're going to stop doing it and start shipping code, or you're going to just get out of the game and only write for yourself and create your own products and services for yourself. That's not actually how I got there. Like I said, I was launched a bunch of companies. And so one company I launched was called LFG Gaming. I bought 25 gaming computers, 8 Xbox 360s, and I got retail space, and people are going to pay me $5 an hour to play video games. This is just when Xbox Live was getting popular. So there's this thing called online gaming that hadn't quite existed. And so I built this perfect thing, and it was exactly what a 36-year-old guy would want to go and play video games in. So I wasn't going to buy it all my nerd friends. And all my nerd friends came back and said, bro, my recliner at home is totally great. I don't want to play online games in a room with other people. I was like, no, it's cool. You should. And then a whole bunch of teenagers started showing up. So all my customers were high school students after school. And I built the thing that I wanted, not the thing my customers needed. And at the end of it, we set $250,000 on fire and had to close the whole thing down. And so, I think that over time you get these emotional scars that let you get wisdom. And the wisdom is, I'm not willing to sacrifice or invest months and months and months and hundreds of thousands of dollars into something without ever getting the feedback to see how do I make it right.
So first, I was a 20-some-year-old. No. Wow. Yeah. I was online gaming when I left the army with my friends that were in the army that I couldn't hang out with. Xbox Live was a godsend for me because they had the communication ability too. And so we could actually talk through the headset without paying for phone cards. Nobody knows what that is anymore these days. But yeah, make it international calling. Yes. So yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing for me to ever get. Now, I do want to go back though. At some point, and you have to launch this ugly baby or not. The next phase always struggles people, which is how to take criticism where it belongs, what criticism you should follow and what you shouldn't follow, because everybody has an opinion. How do you determine which is the best route?
Yeah. So I call that mentor whiplash. I went through so many accelerators, so many mentors with my first couple companies, and every single one of them sounded really, really smart. And then I would have one mentor who I really trusted, give me a piece of advice. And then another mentor who I really trusted give me the absolute opposite piece of advice. And eventually I had to learn, well, I'm the CEO of me. I'm the only one who can see the vision. Everyone else here is trying to help, but they don't see what I see. This is my full-time thing that I'm doing, and this is a 30-minute session they gave me. So I never get upset about feedback in any form. I'm very careful who I believe at this time, right? Before I believe what you are telling me, I have to ask a couple things. Does this person understand my industry? Does this person understand what I'm building? Does this person have a track record of authority that I can lean on? You go through this matrix of how much should I weight this person's opinion? And then I start listening or not listening. And based off of how I think about it, right? So going through Pitch It or going through certain things, there's a lot of people who had a lot of opinions. And most of them scored high on my do I listen to them list because they were from the industry. When I'm at a local accelerator in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm talking to somebody who has a brick and mortar house and they're trying to talk to me about my company, I'm sorry, brick and mortar business, business owner, I'll still listen, but they don't know my industry. They don't know my market. So at the end of the day, you're still responsible for what you do. And so advisors, you should be very careful. I think you really shouldn't just take unsolicited advice. As a matter of fact, let's even talk about customers. Not every customer is a great source of feedback. I never listen to just one customer. I'm never going to go out there and change a thing unless he says something just like sparks my heck yeah, that's what it is. That's why I really like taking the passion out of it, and taking the staying out of the feedback by putting it into some form of matrix or a decision process. Now, I'll tell you the thing I have a real hard time with. I have a hard time giving accurate feedback and good feedback. I don't like to tell anybody they've done a bad job. But so Matt rolls in here and he's been working on something for 3 months and he's like, here it is, Adam. I would hate that because I know I would crush your soul if I was like, oh, that's all wrong. So I have a hard time getting feedback. And the way I handle that is I make sure I manufacture opportunities for me to give feedback to my employees on a weekly basis. So I never get that debt to pile up where if I give you feedback, I've just destroyed 3 months of your work. And I kind of make sure that I do the behaviors to get feedback in that kind of format as well, where not just, hey, let's go ahead and have a talk every quarter, Matt. I'd rather hear from you every week and be like, I just did this thing. And you're like, Adam, that's enough. We need to spend that much time together. But you guys get it. So that's the high level of how I think about taking and receiving feedback.
So actually, that frame though, I think sets up a a good question because I know you talking a hypothetical, but there are a lot of engineering type people who are in that stance, right? They spend 3 months writing what they thought was the right product, right? Didn't necessarily do much research. If you're that person, how do you start digging out of that, right? Like you started building before you started talking to customers. You may or may not have something viable. Like, where do you go from there if you find yourself in that spot?
Well, the worst thing you could do is get mad at yourself because it's your vision. You have to get it out there. You have to spend your 2 to 3 months building your prototype. One of the illusions that we have is that you have to go fast and break things. I'm building something you have to go fast and break things because I'm trying to build a rapidly scaling company. Not every business is a rapidly scaling company. Some are boutique businesses that are strictly for a particular niche. So the first thing I would do is I would say, hey, take that weight off your shoulders. You do need to eventually push the thing, but understand that the MVP stage is all about getting your thoughts on paper or thoughts into code. As soon as you're able to show somebody and have it click around, I would immediately go and get potential customers to give me feedback about it. I mean, one of the things that we did is we created a safe place. When we started ThreatCaptain, first thing we did is we built a board of trusted advisors. We call it the Captain's Table. Maybe you've heard of it, Matt, once upon a time. But the idea here is here's 10 to 15 people I have anointed as I trust their opinions equivalently. And I would make sure I would show that captain's table, that advisory board every month, progress on it, whether I liked it or not. And guess what? No one yelled at me. No one was like, I'm not stupid. Everyone was loving, caring, gave me great feedback. But I had to manufacture a safe place for me to get feedback at that particular time. And I did it on purpose. So if you're one of those guys or gals who are working on a thing and you've been in it for 3 months, consider finding 4 or 5 people that you trust in the industry that you're to do business with, and get their feedback and get them to tell you how they would use your product, what they would, think about it, what to pay. Just ask them all the questions.
That's still there's still the lingering part of this though. And like, cause once you've launched, you're a year or two down the road, maybe in 3 years, you have customers, right? Now there's that delineation between what customers or what request from customers you should adhere to or so how do you do a quick first, how do you have a quick triage? Because usually salespeople are the ones that get this feedback first, right? So right, salespeople always want more to sell more, right? Whether bigger, matter, indifferent, right? So what do you tell salespeople, or how do you tell them how to triage just to boil up the sensible ones?
Well, it starts with understanding your ideal client profile, ICP. So if I was to ask a SaaS company that wanted to sell a product to an MSP, I'd say, "What's your ICP?" And they're like, "I sell to MSPs." I'm like, "No, that's your market. That is not an ideal client." Um, you, I'll give you ours. So my ideal client is a owner-led sales or a MSP that has a VP of sales or a CRO or a sales team looking to sell more cybersecurity in the coming future. So I will prioritize feedback from that group of people, the salespeople, the owner-led salespeople, over the fractional CSO or the CISO or their QBR manager. Or so when you know exactly who you're selling to, then you prioritize feedback based off of the people who are getting the most value out of it. So sharpen the knife, niche harder, niche deeper, and it's never black and white. It's always shades of gray. But for me, when Brad rolls in, he's like, "We need to add money for. We need to be able to have, instead of showing dollars, we need to have Canadian money, which I think is called alimony. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But we need to do that. And if we do that, I can close 5 more deals because their salespeople won't put this product in front of their customers if it shows dollars." That's great feedback.
That is okay. So, well, that just one follow up to that. Then, um, you may get multiple requests that make sense right now that from different perspectives that all make sense to do, right? So, how do you determine? Obviously, you have limited resources. So, how do you determine which comes first?
Well, I just run into my dead room and I yell, "Do it all! It's all priority one!" And then I leave. So, okay, that never works.
That's fair. Okay, good. Never worked. Great interview. Thanks, Danny.
No, my VP engineering made the mistake of starting to stop by my office every morning, and he would always leave with a new list of features I needed, right? And so, what I did is I actually made my nerds work for my designer. So every piece of feedback we get all goes into the lens of what is the user experience and what is the next best feature we should add to the product for the user experience to accomplish the mission. So I'm free to come up with all the widgets and all the cool ideas and take them in and put them on the roadmap and all that stuff. The prioritization is now done by our designer, the UI UX person. And I find they're great at prioritization because they understand the user experience, the process well. Where sometimes I find that if I let my engineers do the priorities, they'll work well on the tool or the widget that's interesting to them, not necessarily the one that fits into making a better product.
How do you filter out the ideas that are good but don't make sense for the vision or direction you want to ultimately take the product?
I'll start another company. So I always scratch the itch. I like coding on the side. I like building little apps and sometimes that's just all you need to do is get your emotional needs met by doing that. But it also comes down to I might have idea fatigue. I don't know if this makes sense to you guys, but I used to get excited about every idea. Like I would just like, oh, this is the next big thing. I'm gonna do this, and I would be completely excited about it. Now that I can see 50 years old is right over there. It's right over there. I'm like, I have a hard time working up the energy to get excited over every single idea. Now, where that I will change that is if you came up with an idea, I would cheer you on. I would be the biggest advocate you possibly could see to help encourage you. But for me, I'm very clear what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to get to a point where we can build a healthy company that provides this kind of service. And so because I have such strong vision about what I'm doing, it's very easy for me to honor and respect a really cool idea without having to give it any cycles. And if I need to give it a cycle, I'll go write up some code and we'll put it in the back pocket.
But again, it still comes back to where I would go with it with, feature requests, enhancements, whatever it may be. And if it, in your fatigue comment is, it's not fatigue, it's just common sense now. I think when you're younger, when you're younger, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you come in, then after many years, and especially for me, especially since Pitch It, even the amount of vendors the amount of applications I see, and I'm like, what? And you've worked with me, Adam, so I'm very like to the point of, okay, what's it do? What problem are you solving? Like, if I can't wrap my head around it, then there's no way of me understanding, so I move on.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll go back to the feature or enhancement requests that come in from customers. You said you leave it up to the designer, right? But you also told the story about Brad will come and say they won't put it in front of somebody unless it has this. So in prioritization, what's first, the revenue or the designer?
Oh, revenue. Always revenue. So we'll yes and squish that together. I reserve the right to throw all of my people into chaos at a drop of a hat. And so I want the dev shop to run based off of the designer's methodology, how they need to do. But I want to be able to come in and whenever I want, say, drop it all, work on the other thing because we have a business need. Matter of fact, we've actually changed, we've added a column in the dev Kanban board, which is closest to the money. What is the feature that if we had would generate the most revenue for ThreatCaptain? So I'm training my guys to think in business terms about their development, about what helps the company, what helps the customer, and which of those features actually result in success measured by revenue. That has taken a lot of the work off of my table, off my plate, because now in my management meeting, when they come and tell me what is the roadmap they're working on this month and what does the stuff look like, they're able to tie back to here's the financial reason why we're doing it from a revenue point of view at ThreatCaptain. Now that was not a quick thing to do and it's not perfect, but the fact that it's in their methodology now means that over time it's going to get a lot better. And I tell you what, I did notice a lot of better conversations right out of the gate just by framing it that way, even if we didn't land where I wanted us to.
How are you balancing the new feature, new dev closest to the revenue model or close to the money model with things like going back and addressing old tech debt or architecture changes or things like that that just have to happen as well?
Is this a safe place? Is it just us girls? Because not well, buddy, not well. Because it's like a pendulum, right? It swings too far to tech debt, and then you hire another developer, and then you try to pay off the tech debt. And I keep trying to say, well, I want 80-20 rule. Let's get at least 20% of our resources, but no one ever does it that way. You don't. You have to give the developer permission to get into flow state, and the worst thing you can do is pull the devs out of their flow state. And so we've done things like short sprints on new products where I'm like, hey guys, this is a product sprint week. Let's push a new product. Let's get it in a QA. Let's build the thing out. I wouldn't say that we've really figured it out yet. And I think one of the reasons why is that depending on who is in your development team, how they respond to being jerked around or having things change around has a lot to do with their personality. And so with this particular group that we've got two really young guys, and then I have a gray hair beard dude, and it's slow and steady, and then frantic development. And I think that is not the way it should be. I think that's just the season that we're in right now. But also I get my emotional needs met by me being able to build those prototypes. So maybe that's the right answer, Matt. Maybe the fact that I've got my a constant pipeline of minimum viable products coming out lets me push the products and have that new dev while my nerds are making sure the product doesn't catch fire. Oh, I don't have an answer to this though. We're still working on this. Ask me later. How do we take this stuff on prototyping and effectively merge it into the user experience in a timely fashion. It is not useful for me to have a whole bunch of small tools that don't talk to each other inside of a large platform. I need to make sure I'm integrating that correctly. And for me, a KPI is how long does it take to get one of my prototypes that has been validated by the market into the core product.
I the prototype thing is that's it's a very difficult thing. Yeah, good luck with that because yeah. So yeah, with that, we started asking questions of our guests of predictions, right? And I feel like the whole prototype to real world usage is such a that leads to success is a great segue into this question. So, how do you think it'll ever? What's your prediction on how many years? And we go over under on this. Let's just say, let's say the over under is 20 years on the Jets to be able to actually take a prototype first round number one pick that they'll do and actually put them into the team and have a winning team.
So that's a really great question. It's also a complicated question because the Jets are not actually a football team. So what the Jets do is they show up and they injure other quarterbacks to give world-class quarterbacks the chance to actually play the game. So they actually build other football teams. Think of the Jets as a championship accelerator for other people.
So you're saying the Jets are the pitch-up program of the NFL.
Okay.
I don't want
Let's not pitch it with that. It's got a future, baby.
So the question is your prediction over under 20. Where do you put them at, 20 years?
Way over. Again, I still stand by the fact that they are not a football team. I feel like they're a football team that plays one on TV. That's not it.
Matt, where do you put this?
Oh, it's way over. The Jets sold their soul for that Super Bowl, and they'll just be the same way they are now for the rest of forever.
They sold. Wow, I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a quorum. 66% of today's participants also believe that the Jets. Where do you think, Sean? Where are they?
Yeah, I wanted to like be the opposite. I wanted to be the devil's advocate. I'm really having a hard place to find any grounds to support otherwise. Um, you know, well, the Steelers won't need their quarterback in the future again, and then they can have them, whichever one. It doesn't really matter. Or a running back that doesn't want to sign, or what receiver that plays really well for us and then just goes there to do nothing. That signs for a lot of money. So I almost look at the Jets like a retirement like program. Like I can see the acceleration on the front end, but there's no middle, right? It's like
So
you hit once you hit your stride, you're no longer with the Jets.
Yeah.
And then when your stride is
Yeah.
done, you're back with the Jets.
Yeah.
yeah, they're almost literally a retirement program. They were the team playing Tampa when AB ran off the field.
I like that image of these guys in summer camp with walkers and like this all riding around on the little scooters. Yeah. Well, you know what? When we lost a family pet, I told my kids that we took her to the farm. Maybe the Jets are the farm and the upstate. That's right. That's where football careers go to die.
Yeah. I do have one realistic question though for you for a prediction of things. And you guys presented about your AI involvement too, right? And security. Since cybersecurity was the industry, right? That was the hot topic. And now AI is the hot topic, even though cybersecurity is still a topic, not the number one. What's next then?
Ooh. So I went to the Italian consulate in Washington, D.C. last week, and I had a conversation with some Uber nerds. And what their thing was the next thing to be ideated, like the next revolution is physics. where they're saying we are wrong with most of the things we believe about physics, and we're going to have new sciences over the next couple of decades, from fusion to da 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 da. So I think cybersecurity was great. I think AI is great. But I think that if core parts of science that are changing, which how we think about quantum and we think about et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to me, most of those are just nice things to talk about. But if that actually does come to pass, where we have new sciences, technologies, and physics on how we understand the world, ooh, look out.
Like, we're talking about wormholes?
Yeah, I didn't name it.
Uh,
Mostly alloys and different metals, but sure, let's go into wormholes. But that's the whole thing. Is like, I love the idea that most of what we know is wrong. We just don't know what part is that's wrong. We're wrong about, right? So, but from an MSP space, maybe physics isn't going to be a game changer. But man, we've got different ways of building new technology and chips and different alloys. What happens if processing power takes a quantum jump? What happens to all of that? So, I guess the joke is that quantum's always 10 years out, and it will be 10 years out 10 years from now. So, I kind of think that that's, but that's to me the most exciting thing. Shoot, you know what else, dude? All right, I'll tell you guys. You asked. Gosh, I want a new internet, and I think we can do that in the space industry. I think that if I don't know if you remember the history of the internet. We built it with Al Gore. Yeah, Al Gore nailed it. And Al Gore was like, we need to make it so everyone could have access to everything. Blah. The fundamental architecture of the internet is dumb. And I would love for us to use the space industry as an excuse to redesign. We don't need TCP/IP anymore, kids. We can do better.
I don't know, Adam. It's gonna be difficult. Like, you mean outer space?
Yeah.
It's gonna be difficult with that whole flat Earth thing going on. I don't know, but
No, it's easier because one ladder works the entire way. It's fine.
fair. Okay, I stand corrected.
As you should. But it's the flattest of the Earths. It's my favorite. Yeah. Did you know that it's on the back of a tortoise?
No.
Yeah, no, there's a giant turtle that the Earth is sitting on top of, and it's flat, and that's how we get earthquakes. Is every once in a while the turtle stumbles.
Fair.
It's a really good point. Now I'm going to, man, now I want to go down the road of like the internet after, like what comes after TCP/IP. Is there are so many flaws and problems with the entire architecture, and it just kind of works, sort of.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, we won't go down that road because we'll be here another 3 hours.
Don't, Matt. Don't let Adam do this to you. Don't do it.
no, dude, no. So let's see. Here goes. Nope.
Thank you, Adam.
No. Yeah, about Next-
All right.
next time we'll go down this road.
Yeah, I got no stuff. We should talk about it. It's good.
Yeah, when we're retired, when we're in Jet World, we can talk about what ended up going on.
Yeah, that'll be the sign. The Jets have won the Super Bowl.
The farm.
I think we'll see the Jetsons before we see the Jets win. Like, not every idea or thing to say out loud is a good thing. It doesn't stop me from saying it. There you go.
All right. We got to wrap this up before we go totally off the rails, or I guess more off the rails than we already are.
Yes.
Adam, thank you for coming on. This is a great time. Fantastic interview, great insights. This went in the blink of an eye. I can't believe we're out of time already.
That was the idea.
Yeah, well, you guys are some of my favorites. Again, thanks for having me on. You're gentlemen and scholars, and you do great work. Keep it up.
And then there's Matt. So yeah, thank you. Real good having you on.
No,
Spelling bee champs every year. Really good having you on, Matt. Thank you as always. And for everybody watching, this is a new year. Looking forward to seeing the next one. Deuces.